Hey guys, it's me, Kelly. This is really exciting by popular demand and request. You guys wanted Barry Littleton to come back and talk about some things. So after I put out my video, Aliens Do Not Exist, we're going to be talking about that with Barry. Some of you are kind of like, poke, poke. Hey, Barry, did you see Kelly's video? Aliens don't exist. There's some haters out there just stirring the pot, I tell you. Anyway, without further ado, here we have Barry Littleton. Hey, Barry.
Salutations. How you doing, Kelly? Interesting.
Oh,
Yeah. It's good to
yeah.
talk to you again, actually. It's been a while. Well, I guess we talked privately a little, but not like in this forum in a while. So
Yeah, my phone will ring and it'll be like, oh, it's Barry. Yay. So, yeah, I've talked to you on the phone and we've texted and all that. Barry's a friend, not just someone on the show. Barry's a friend.
yeah. It's been interesting. The whole thing, I guess it's been just a little over 2 years now since I kind of spoke out. Um, it's just been an interesting deal. I see so many people that are both looking for guidance, but also you've got these deceivers that slip in there. And I mean, they're doing so much what we used to call back in the day PNG, persona non gratis, which is basic character assassination. And I mean, it's easy to shoot us down. Like, you can shoot me down anytime. That's easy. I may be an a-hole. That's easy to prove. But the information that's being presented, is that valid? You know what I mean? That's the more important thing. And I'm still talking because, I mean, this is serious. Right now, humanity and this planet is in a bad way. And humanity is close to going down for the count. So it's time for consciousness to shine, for people that are aware of things to step forward. And it's just that time. And after I died, I knew how much of that I had not done by just trying to hide out and be quiet all the time and not share experiences or knowledge or anything. I'm not going to make that mistake again. I don't need to die again or take more brain injuries to get that one. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Absolutely. So I'm so glad to have you on again. I've been watching your channel. You're doing very well. Good job.
You're one of many people that helped persuade me to start that channel. I was very reluctant to do it, if you remember, just like I was reluctant to do more interviews or anything like that. But that's part of spreading the word, I guess. The reception's been great. I want to say hello to your audience because they've been very kind to me. A lot of people have reached out, and it's so cool to exchange so much information. I try to get back with everybody, but I fall short. But the information exchange it's incredible. So thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you. And speaking of Barry's channel, Barry had a channel up, and I can't remember his channel name that he had before. And it was a Sunday morning, I believe, when I did this. I was getting up to see who has illegally uploaded my videos on their on their channels. And so I was looking through, and I'm like, gosh, here's this one channel that's just uploaded like 4 or 5 of my videos. Report, 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 report. So I reported Barry. It was Barry's channel, and I had already given him permission to put all of those videos up. So Barry got a strike on his channel. I felt so awful. You couldn't upload videos longer than 15 minutes. I can't remember. There were just so many restrictions for like 6 months. I felt so horrible for Barry.
That was a complete accident, man. It's kind of funny in hindsight how it went down, though. It's a total accident. When you called me, you said this person is obsessed with you. I was like, what? Who?
Yeah, for some reason they just uploaded all the videos of that I've had with you on there. This person, I'm like, Kelly, that's me. I'm like, oh crap. So your 6 months is over, and I don't know. I think you learned a whole lot during that period of time, and your channel got better.
Yeah,
So,
well, I just made my playlist about a week ago, and that's a definite step forward for me. I'm not all that computer savvy, so it probably shows in some ways.
there.
Okay, something weird just happened. The internet went down. I know that just happened.
Okay, guys, I just letting you know, I'm having internet problems, and occasionally it just went down just then. I'm gonna edit this video afterwards and edit out all of these slices. But for the live audience, I just wanted to let you know you're going to see the internet going down and coming back up, and I apologize for that. That's just kind of the way it is right now until I can fix my internet problem. I was so excited I had my internet problems fixed for a week. I had no interruptions or anything, and then yesterday. It just started again on yesterday, so I don't know how to fix them. But we're talking about Chris, and we have Occupant in there as well, and The Night Remains, Sandrine. All these people are saying hi to you, Barry, in the chat room.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, that's really cool. I tell you, I'm still somewhat amazed by this. You know, the day that, because like I've said before, you know, how I actually got hit to you was when I was coming out of the hospital. I wasn't quite out of the hospital. 2 days before, I just remembered probably a week before who I was. And I sustained a bunch of brain injuries, so I was out of it for a minute, to say the least. But when I was trying to find somebody on YouTube, I got to access my computer. I was like, man, that had near-death experience, besides myself or someone that at least I could relate to. And you came up, and it was when you were still literally doing the In the Closet videos. And that's why I resonated that. You put out 3 of them that I resonated with. And I thought one day, it'd be cool to talk to her one day. But I didn't think I actually would. Kind of like talking to James Gillian. I didn't think that happened either. But hey, I'll just go with it. This is in the realm of the creator, so that's cool with me. So,
Aw, well, it was my pleasure. And I've got a friend out of it. That's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Well, you want to dive into the aliens?
Sure.
Aliens don't exist, Barry. Poke, poke, poke. You know.
Okay. First of all, you know me. I never hold back. So I'll be honest. I didn't watch that video till probably 2 hours ago because the title offended me. I'm not real bad, but I was like, well, what the hell is she talking about? Where is she coming from on that? And some other people were kind of offended by it too. But I see now that probably the title did you in a little more than what you were trying to say. What you were relating it more in a way that were your personal experience. Were some of these extraterrestrials physical or not? And you weren't saying that none of them were, and you were going into the dimensional aspect. I get it completely, you know what I mean? But the title, I think, did you in, I think that's... I'll tell you what, to kind of elucidate a little bit on what you were saying, and like you, I can only go into my own personal experiences, all right? One is we've got such a large gamut of beings that interact with this planet, all right? One that is some that are both extraterrestrial, physical, and others that are interdimensional, multidimensional, okay? And on one of those videos on my channel, in fact, one of the recent ones, I go over what it's like for me to be on board one of those ships that's got multidimensional beings on it that are on different frequencies. What is that really like? So in that way, I agree with what you're saying completely, and I think that just needs to be expounded a little. One point of that would be something that a guy that I kind of he wrote a book called Crypto-Terrestrials. His name was Mac Toonies. He came to unfortunate demise after he put that book out. He's a younger guy. But I advise people maybe check that out. When he calls them crypto-terrestrials, he's kind of referring to both inner Earth civilizations and beings that exist in remote areas right here on Earth that have often been using the guise of, oh, look to the stars. We're from this galaxy. We're from this star. But in reality, they're from here, and they've been occupying this planet with us for a long time and kind of using deception, which might be needed in their deal because humanity is not exactly on target. But anyway, that's even Bigfoot kind of represents that. You know what I mean? In that way, a being that is able to deceive normal terrestrial people. All right. So that's kind of one aspect of what you're addressing too, which is very real. You've got inner Earth colonies here, and it's not that the inner Earth is the way that it's been described, like in a book with Admiral Byrd, but in reality, you've got these catacombs within this planet. These catacombs are huge, and you start getting into artificial lighting and artificial you've got civilizations in there in some of these mountains. Okay, that goes back to what I experienced at Iseti. me, Mr. Experiencer guy, okay, I went out there and, excuse me, got my ass blasted, man. I was hanging out with this cat in this, we're just talking in what they call the Pleiadian circle, and I start seeing this ship out there. He sees it. It starts morphing. I've seen ships morph before, okay, that's cool. But then it descends into the mountain. And then it's still, Kelly, it's still visible from behind the mountain. I did a video on this, but at first I started going like this. I'm going, okay, my visual acuity must be deceiving me, and this thing is really descended in front of the mountain, and I can still see the light as it flashes up. But no, it wasn't. It rose up above the tree line, went down twice. And this guy that I'm standing there with, he worked out there. Albert is his name, and he's kind of hyperventilating. And I didn't say nothing because I didn't want to give any suggestion. So I probably asked him, said, man, what are you seeing? And he said, it's impossible. I'm seeing this through the mountain. To a degree till it went lower and then it did disappear. But that left me standing out there for the next week. I was on that ranch looking at this range that they call Sleeping Lady, because it looks like a lady the way it's kind of going over. How much of that is holographic?
Oh, that's a good point.
And James told me, he said, well, you know, there's ones up there, I think he called it Flathead Mountain, one of them there, I think, and so he said that there's soldiers up there, stationed up there, and he's never known why. Now, whatever I saw wasn't anything that we have or any humans have, but there's no way that it's not known. Come on. Anyway, that's a whole other deal. I'm sorry, I'm going left.
Well, I'm watching the chat over here as you're talking, and they're basically discussing what you're talking about. One of them, love your hair, Kelly. Thank you. It says aliens exist. I have seen UFOs since 2009. Now, this is one of the things that I wanted to talk to everybody about, and this is kind of the point of me coming out and saying, hey, let's examine, is the Earth flat? Aliens don't exist. Let's just look at these things that we have taken as the truth because other people told us. And let's take a second look at it and see if it is true or not. Just because it's in a saucer in the sky does not mean it came from elsewhere. It could have come from this planet somewhere else and then come to see us. I have not seen a UFO break through our atmosphere and then come in that direction and come towards me. I haven't seen that before. So when someone, they say, oh, it's a gray, it's an alien. Well, how do you know that's not something that didn't live here on this planet before that you're calling an alien? Or these that come and, you know, get you out of bed in the middle of the night. How do you know that those didn't live here and didn't come from the stars? So that's where we have basically believed what other people have told us, and then we put it as a part of our belief system where we don't really know what happened, but we just regurgitate that word alien because it's something that we don't understand and it's not human, so we just call it alien.
You know, that's well said. You know, something, this takes us into another realm also, and this needs to be addressed, all right? When some of the beings that I've dealt with that are definitely not from Earth and from extragalactic, okay, sometimes we're dealing with distances so far that we have to start realizing the different containers for consciousness that goes beyond the humanoid form, beyond the organic form. And it's some of these beings that I've dealt with myself. I know because they told me they came here as thought forms. And once they get into the density of our solar system, especially the atmosphere of Earth, they start taking on physical characteristics as thought forms. This is because, and you know, and that for us can be when we go into what's called cognitive dissonance. When we have like a ball of light jumping around in front of us, most of us are so busy paying our bills, taking care of our kids. We don't have time to see a light ball jumping around in front of us. We're too asleep. We freak out. So instead, we're seeing something like an eagle or a bird or a moth or something that we can actually identify with in a frame of reference. So in that way, we have to understand that when some of the beings that come here are actually thought forms, so when they get in our atmosphere, they start taking on forms that are like metal ships that appear to be that, or balls of light, plasma balls, things of that nature. Yes, yes. So that's something to be aware of just when we're dealing with light forms and what our containers for consciousness can be. Another one is plasma. Plasma is another container for consciousness. And you see that, you can take a lot of people that send me these pictures of not just orbs, but of light ships they have. There are condensed light ships, but there are also plasma ships that I've seen. You can look at the plasma ranges chart. Look that up on Wikipedia. Google plasma ranges, and it'll give you a chart that shows you what metals are like when it gets in our atmosphere, and the different like gases and the different types of plasma, how they react and look like. So when you see these ships out there making a lot of these colors and going green, blue, red, you think that it must be lights that are around them going around them. Sometimes it's the plasma reacting different in our atmosphere. Sorry, I'm probably going left here a little, but that's just another thing I think that you were addressing that we just kind of might leave out. So, and that can also include beings that are coming from interdimensional. I'll give a name. All right, I didn't release it officially, so I went up to a setting. Now, Kelly, I spent years from childhood on trying to identify who these beings were that were communicating with me. All right. Now, I mean, things were happening to me that were far out. All right. And it sounds cool now when I talk about it because I've been able to put it together, but it took a lifetime. When these things start warping your time field and whatever else that goes on, it really messes with your life. Even if you're like me, I wasn't abducted. I had experiences. I was never abducted. It was not like that. But nonetheless, trying to cope with that and go through college and things was very difficult. You know what I mean? You want to sit look at the professor thinking, God, has he got extraterrestrial genes? Is he aware? You know, does this and that exist? And why am I seeing auras on this guy or whatever it could be? You know what I mean? For the test. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. So that's two aspects of what you were saying. One, how this can be. Number two, the beings that do exist here on Earth. All right. Does that make sense a little bit more? I can only speak from my own experience.
Oh, it does. I've got a question now because I have an actual picture. I put it on Facebook. So the picture is on Facebook. There's actually two pictures that I took. This was possibly 10 years ago. I can't remember exactly when I took it. It was right outside this back door. And I that was a period of time when I got myself in trouble, not knowing what I was doing, just saying, hey, if you're out there, come here, let me take your picture, not using any discernment or any protection or anything like that. So when I was doing all of that, I was like, hey, let me take your picture or whatever you are. And I took this picture and it looks like, and it's white. So I don't know if this is plasma or not, but it was, looks like white, intelligent smoke and or maybe thicker than that, and it was like a fish here and a fish here, so it was two slightly different types of fish. And if I measured them, basically it would be at least 15 feet long, or possibly 20 feet long, and maybe 8 to 10 feet tall per fish. And I have pictures of this. And then that same evening, I took a picture over here. It was slightly to the right then. And it looked like dead bodies, like the skeleton dead bodies. And they were all like one on top of the other. Like you would envision hell or whatever with all these dead bodies. And it were just, anyway, I've got pictures of that I shared on Facebook. I'll try and find them again and put them on Facebook and, refresh on there. But would those be a thought form like you were talking about, like a thought form or consciousness that has come here and take on a certain shape?
Yeah, it could be that. It gets kind of a bit hard to tell there because when you start seeing when the astral starts penetrating like that, some, as well as I do, some of those life forms that exist that are almost like amoebas or whatever they are, like it always reminded me when I look in that microscope and see it like pond scum, pond water. You see all the different, at 100, even 100 mags, you see all these different things moving. They're life forms. Our atmosphere and our astral realm here is much like that. And some of those forms you see, the first ones you see, I'm sorry, they're kind of hideous. They look like these weird serpents or skeletons. I mean, and I don't think they're anything more than just like looking at a natural one cellular organism, some of them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What you kind of described reminded me of that. But then again, it's hard to tell. what if that was an amphibious race that's not corporeal anymore that was projecting that? You know what I mean?
That feels right. There, it felt like there was a huge amount of intelligence and wisdom in these creatures. They felt very intelligent, not on the level of bacteria or anything like that. They felt like a highly intelligent race.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's definitely, and that takes it again. When I showed one and certain beings I got, and it started here on this show, actually. You got me to show a couple of those illustrations when I was never really planning on showing them at all. And I got showing them in his SETI too. But one of them was Mana, and Mana got a lot of response. And Mana's amphibious, all right? And when this being was communicating with me, and it was somewhat quite physical, you know what I mean? But, and a little out of sync with us, but still physical, but saying that she came from the multiverse. Actually, the word she used then was exo-space-time. It's outside the exo-space-time continuum. I was just a kid. I was a teenager at that point. What the hell does that mean? I'm pretty nuts. That's stupid. But man, what is exo-space-time? It's on my e-space. And now we can call that the multiverse. And she's showing me bubbles that are actually outside of our universe. And the planets out there. And I'm trying to imagine, how would there be a liquid planet out there? But see, we don't understand. We don't understand the consciousness of it, any of it. But in that way, those beings extremely knowledgeable. Some are medical feeling, others feel like scientists, but they're kind of, I think, these kind of warriors too. And that's the being that had the reverse brain. And it's interesting, if you look at certain types of coral in our sea, they look like brains. Sea coral.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's what it kind of looked to me across between. I'll try to do a screen share for that being. So we try to work this. If I could blow everything if I try to do this. Should I try?
Oh, go for it. Now, all we do is start over, and I'll splice it together. How's that? If we mess up.
Okay. All right, everybody, bear with me. So I'm gonna get criticized for this one pretty good.
We're gonna do screen share. So Barry's learning screen share.
Different on this system here, so
yeah, Barry has a lot of illustrations. Oh, there's going to be a little bit of an echo when he does this. Sorry about that. We practiced this a while ago. But Barry has, I think he said 80 illustrations or so. And let me go ahead and click on that.
Here we go.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, that is Mana. And it's interesting, I just did on my channel about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 videos. One over this being and another one over one named Xandar. And Xandar appeared to me when I was much younger, and physically. He actually came and played with me when I was a kid. But anyway, this being got a lot of responses. I kind of wanted to see which being got more views. Mana got a few more than Xandar did. But nonetheless, this is an amphibious being, okay? Mana stood about, I'd say about somewhere around 8.5 feet tall, about that. And she, amphibious, androgynous, I would say. I always felt kind of like this was a male. But when I put the picture out, so many people came back saying, that feels like a female. And so then I had to feel more and realize, well, gosh, this is an amphibious being. It's androgynous. Now, I've shown a couple of pictures of another Mana, but are shorter. Okay, shorter beings I've seen on other ships. All right, so they look like her with the reverse being, but maybe measuring about 5 feet tall. They're not that tall.
Interesting. That is very, very interesting. I've seen beings very, very similar to this. So let me see. Are you coming back or sharing another picture?
I'm trying to come back here so that.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, you can find, just type in Barry Littleton on YouTube. I also have a link in the description where you can click on there and go subscribe to Barry on his YouTube channel. And he has a lot of videos about these different alien races. He's got illustrations, pictures, and he goes into detail about these different races. So very, very interesting. very interesting.
I'm going to try to do one more real quick. All right. The reason why I want to do this, because I think it really corresponds to what you were talking about. All right, and this will put this in more of a way that I can describe it better, because that's part of this. Is none of us have really any pictures that are experiencers. So I mean, you're not, when you're not on there, you don't have your selfie stick in your phone going, "Oh, let me get a couple pictures with you guys." I'm sorry, I telepathically asked, "Could I get like one selfie?" I could probably, you know, it'd be very.
Okay.
It doesn't work like that.
Sorry,
Okay?
Barry. I was like not here through all of that. So we're doing a do-over. So yeah, my internet went down just then and it came right back up. So let me click on here. There we go. Can you show the picture again? I'm so sorry, Barry. The internet went down.
Oh no problem. Sorry, I was.
Okay, and then I'm gonna clip this out at the end when I edit this. I'll get it all edited up. I'm sorry, Barry. I just if anybody out there knows how to fix my internet problems, I would really appreciate it, because I don't know why this keeps happening. This is incredibly frustrating. I've done everything that I could. I've got an adapter over there. I put it in the right slot. The only thing, I've got Windows 10, and I'm wondering if Windows 10 has anything to do with it.
You know, I had problems with that at first. Actually, the second interview we did, or maybe the third one, I was actually I converted to Windows 10, and it messed everything up. Now they've been so many updates. It's probably a lot better by now, but for the guinea pigs like me, oh, don't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did it without my permission. It was in the middle of the night, and when your computer does mystery stuff while you're asleep, so that's when it happened, in the middle of the night, and boom, there it was. So we got the pictures. Oh, this is exciting.
Okay.
And I'll edit all of this out.
Okay, I'm gonna put this up now. Okay, can you see me still? Or are we good?
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay. This one, all right. And I'm showing this to kind of confirm what you were saying, and to kind of integrate this so everyone can get a feel for it. There's so many people that already know anyway, besides the more than me. But anyway, this is a multi-dimensional ship, an alliance ship, all right, that I've been on for these beings that I work with. And these are beings that look smaller than Mana there, as you can see, with a different uniform on, and they've got the exposed brains, but they're much smaller, okay, maybe 5 feet tall. But more importantly, what I want to talk about is the interior of this craft. All right, it was like a mushroom on the inside, more like that, the texture, which told me immediately it was organic. All right, I don't know what you call them down there in Texas, but we call them toadstools here. They kind of look like toadstools on the outside, that same type of texture. All right, that has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of these ships are grown in space, and that there's a spore type of component in there that is resistant to cosmic rays. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic. In these eggs are these lights. Now, at first, when I was looking at these eggs, they look like almost glass on the outside of a type, and then they're kind of into the wall, but they're got a metal component to them. And within these eggs is this mist. And there's mist in certain other rooms on this ship makes it very hard to breathe. But there was a bunch of mist in these eggs. And the lights you see, I saw at first, well, this must be a power source, until one of them exited out of the egg. Okay, those are more like command officers. And we talked about this on one of our other interviews, but I couldn't describe it like I could now, because Christine Dennett, who Lord knows is very tolerant of me, hadn't done this illustration yet. So anyway, the lights you're seeing in there are actually non-corporeal life forms, and I think command officers, non-physicals, because a lot of times these other beings and the others, whether they're insectoids or whatever, would be watching these eggs as much as I was. I remember they must be getting probably instructions or some type of communication, all right? So that's just something to be aware of. And when these beings, as they inform me, when they come out of that ship and come out of those eggs, and even on that ship, it's multidimensional, enough for me to exist in the third dimension, all right? I was physically there. This wasn't an astral deal, all right? So it's enough for me to be there physically. But by the same token, when they come out of these eggs, even on that ship, they're out of temporal sync. And when they come here into our dimension, much worse. They can get trapped here, there can be pain, because these are different forms from a higher dimension. Whether it be extragalactic or interdimensional, it does not matter.
This is fascinating.
Does that make sense a little more? So in that way, what you were saying was very true, and you were incorporating that with all those aspects, and I think it just didn't come through with the title. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I knew it upset some people, but sometimes we have to get upset.
Seeing those lights in those tubes, you know, and the fact that there's a temporal distortion when I was there physically, meaning that the outside and the inside of that ship are not in the same dimension, okay? And trying to be there physically in that temporal distortion makes you very sick. It's called, they called it, a word I'm using that they blasted me with, temporal aphasia, which is basically being out of it. I'm walking around on there, although I'm not getting, you know, abducted, I'm not getting experimented on, I'm walking around, but I'm walking around, and everything's distorted. You know, I never knew as a kid why I hated merry-go-rounds and why I hated any rides that gave me that feel of vertigo, that going in circles, because being on those ships feels like that. At least these higher dimension ships I've been on. And there's a physical component to them also. I'm able to be there. So I couldn't accept that. I couldn't see these lights here. It made me almost go into start to forget some of it, missing time. To where I was thinking, oh my Lord, did they wipe my mind? But there was so much love in these experiences. I know that they weren't harming me, but I couldn't remember. That created a problem, especially when you're missing hours and hours of time. That affects your life.
Oh gosh, absolutely. I've got a question. All these people that are waiting for the ships to come and take us away from all of this, what do you have to say to them? They're waiting because the Galactic Federation of Light or whoever, they're like, the ships are coming. We're going to come pick you up and take. I think that is just, well, first of all, we've got a bunch of, scam, I don't think is the best word. You've got some deception, I think, in all of this. But I think this is also humanity's hope and why they're buying into this. This hope of, I don't see how we can fix it here, so I just want to leave. And I'm not looking inside of myself for all the answers, and I don't feel powerful or independent or sovereign. So I'm looking outside of myself for another savior. And that savior now are spaceships that are going to come in and take me away. And that's one of the biggest reasons I wanted to do that video on aliens are not real was for this, because people are scared. People are really scared. First of all, about an alien attack, because that's being promoted in media, an alien attack. Yeah. You're seeing it be prevalent. And then the secondary, I need a savior. Come take me away.
You know, check it out. This is the way I view this, man. You know, it's a trip to me because, first of all, we can't expect anyone to save us. We're in the free will zone, all right? Number two is that is a deception, that there's going to be this great invasion that comes. Look, even the beings that are lower level vibration to us even, but the technology some of them possess, they would have did it by now. That would have happened, all right? That's being stopped to a certain degree. All right, and then we've got secondly thinking that this is used to divert things. This great invasion, like the ships that come in, and we're going to see them blasting. Right now, invasion has been going on for millions of years. People don't want to listen, and first contact is going on right now more intensely than ever, but it's not being acknowledged. Right now, you've got a whole lot more people than me coming forward, and a lot more people that know a hell of a lot more than I do about it, all right? But the point is that people don't want to listen. That's trying to be shut down. But you've got so many people that are seeing ships right now. And let's talk about, Kelly, about what the nature of first contact really is, all right? You've got so many people seeing a ship right now and what is actually called targeted contact, which is where you've got 15, 20 people, a group of 10 people, and one person sees the ship, and they're pointing it out, and maybe one other person can see it, and everybody else is going, what, where? And it's right there, but they can't see it. And you don't want to think, we don't want to think in our consciousness right now that if we're looking at the terms of Star Trek, okay, you don't want to think that the entire United Federation of Planets, the entire Federation stopped what they were doing to make contact with just you on that type of a collective scale. And believe me, that's exactly what's happening. So a lot of people that are seeing these ships, even for a second or two, a minute, looking at them, need to really start thinking about who's on board them, what information might have they received on a superconscious level. You know, it tripped me out. I'll be honest with you. I had experiences as a kid. They stopped from the years I was about 13 to 18. I didn't seem to have any. And then at about 18, I'll try to induce them. I'll try to make them happen. And they wouldn't. They happen when they wanted to happen, all right? But then after that, I had these adult onset experiences. And with that was different. Came a bunch of missing time. And somebody else was with me 3 of the times, and she didn't like it, and she got the heck away from me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So in that way, that type of delusion is not shared, thank God. You know what I mean? But yet the missing time was a real problem. And I couldn't accept that I'm me, Mr. Conscious Experiencer, because up until that time, most of my experiences I was aware of because they were pretty physical. You know what I mean? They weren't like dream stuff that much. I didn't like that, so I was trying to get more physical contact. And then when it happened, I'm having this missing time. And so I realized that this was happening, one, beings that can bend the space-time continuum. Time control is not that big of a deal for even a Type 1 civilization. It's going on down here now. Time control technology. The whole Mandela effect thing that people don't want to talk about. The fact we've got all these private industries. Did you freeze?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was running up. When I go like this, Kelly has an idea. Sorry about that. If you're like, what's she doing? So I was writing down the Mandela effect. I didn't want to disturb what you were saying. But people are all in an uproar over something I said about the Mandela effect too.
You know, when it comes to that, what I would advise when really before, a lot of people say it doesn't exist, it doesn't happen. Okay, before saying that, one, study a little bit about time science, real-time science. Number 2, look at time control technology. Number 3, be aware that there is no transparency on that technology outside of what you see in the medical field. All right, with MRIs and things of that nature that have a time dilation effect with them. All right, and that way we have to start looking at that and realizing without any transparency on this technology, and you look at real-time science, you've got the private sector, different countries all over the planet experimenting with this at different levels. And there's no disclosure on it. With no transparency, that actually, even some of these real devices that are based on closed time-like curves, what's actually called special relativity, as opposed to which takes a low amount of power, opposed to general relativity, which is like Star Trek, antimatter, harnessing immense power. No, special relativity is much easier than that. It's on frame drag, like the Earth is bent. You know, the Earth bends space-time around it. A gravity like that. In that curvature is free energy, our closed time-like curves, the ability to bend space and time forward and backwards. Okay, that's very real. And you've got people that are experimenting with that. And any of this technology, it affects the fabric of our reality. That's not just BS. The science can be looked up, and you can start seeing some of these things until it gets some of these devices start getting into our household conveniences. People won't pay attention, you know. But when you get like places like India or the University of Berkeley, okay, or I give you another one, Ron Mallett, Dr. Ron Mallett, he's a brother. He's at the University of Connecticut. He's doing circulating light beams for time control. This is going all over. And we look at this, and India's got something from the, University of Defense there, but it's It's called subliminal propagation of information, of data. What that means in layman's terms for someone like me is sending information and data backwards through time. Now, when you start dealing with these drones they've got, and if they can open up a vortex of any type and send one back, they can actually communicate with it and start telling people, hey, don't make this decision. It's going to change things. That's a time war. It's not a joke when you think about you've got all these different countries with no transparency and the private sector working with these type of technologies and we don't know about it. That's terrifying. That makes the whole Doctor Who time war thing not such a joke, does it? But until we learn things about that and start looking into this sector and some even the places I just mentioned, you won't know. But some of us, like you, like me, are sensitive enough. So many people listening to us right now. I mean, the people on your whole deal are really heavy. They're intense people and they're very sensitive. But they're detecting these small disruptions in the time field, in the time stream. And a lot of times it can be localized, as in you're experiencing a type of deja vu. Don't think that deja vu is always, oh, my past life, I did the exact same thing I'm doing right now and it's going through. It might also be a technology that is disrupting your time field.
Yes.
Type 2, we don't need the technology. Our dream body, our Merkaba body, is capable of time travel as well. A lot of times I'll post charts that involve what I know you don't know or you don't like. I got to tease you a little. The chakras. And actually putting geometric patterns over the plasma vortexes of your body to help you actually access that consciousness in a different way. And that entails also sometimes intonement or things like pranayama breathing, which is actually oxygenation of your body and your blood too. So in that way, we can access some of these realms and try to expand our consciousness. That's what this is. And we're so trapped right now. We're so busy paying our bills. People don't even have time to try and do this. Or even research it.
I had put out something about the Mandela effect the other day, and just like the video, people misunderstood what I was trying to say. And this kind of gets into where we're going wrong in all of this. If you get so offended and so upset over a little bitty detail, then we have some issues that we need to work on personally in moving forward, because this is not helpful at all. What I was pointing out in the Mandela effect is that I have experienced it. I experienced it in weird ways, and it'll be like, wait a minute, I feel like I'm in a different time space. So I've experienced it myself. And what I was pointing out, basically, because this is what shoots everybody in the foot, and the point I'm trying to make, someone who's on the outside, like, I don't know what's going on, I want to read and find out if this is true or not. This is just an average person wanting more information to become enlightened or awake or whatever. So they come over here and they look at, oh, the Mandela effect. Okay, this Bible verse says this thing, but the same Bible verse over here, from this, oh, I remember the Bible verse being this, but then I open up a Bible now and the Bible verse is different. Okay, I was educated Baptist, so I know what happened. These are the different translations that they're doing. They're picking up a King James and then a Living Bible, and it's like, oh, the Mandela effect. So a bunch of crap like that is going on, and a common misspellings, or some company in China misspell the Berenstain Bears, or something like that. That they're using these as examples of that Mandela effect, and they're not. They're not. These are just things that have gone on in our 3D world, and not good examples. So because I came out with that, people are like, well, you think the Mandela effect is not real, Kelli. No, I'm just trying to keep it real, so that if you're going to be on the standpoint of, I want people to believe me, I want people to believe the Mandela effect. Well, what you're showing them is crap, and they know it's crap, so they're never gonna believe you. That was the point I was trying to make. Let's get some real evidence that we don't have to prove it to anybody. In fact, you can't. If someone does not want something to be proven to them, you can't prove it to them. You can only prove it to yourself. But let's at least get our facts straight when we're doing. That was my point.
Yeah, I didn't see that video. That's cool. So you've been using that, and that's what you kind of explained to me before we came on here. Is that you were using that type of technique to kind of pull people out of the paradigm of thinking a certain way. And that's, that's good. And, like I said, someone that doesn't, like, even if they don't even look into the time technology stuff I just talked about, they won't even be aware of it. I was shocked. I did 2 videos over the Mandela effect. One with my friend Peter Maxwell Slattery from Australia, we met at a SETI in person. That was just a blast. But anyway, we did one over the Mandela effect, and I was shocked the amount of views it got. I don't know, always pay attention to views, but this one people start telling me, that got like 16,000 or something. So I did another one. It's called the Mandela Effect 2, and I tried to provide some illustrations there of different types of time control technology. Because these videos, you lose people's attention at 2 minutes, seconds. So it's got to be quick. You got to try to get that information there quick, or people are going to not pay attention anyway. But
yeah, that's the average YouTube user watches about 2 minutes. I think the enlightened ones watch longer.
3.5 minutes? No, I'm just kidding.
and that's why we're friends, Barry.
As long as the commercial time. You're not in and out of there with the commercial time, you're finished. Anyway, but yeah, so in that way, it's good to just be aware. So many people can feel it, and there are things that are even more subtle than maybe the Bernstein Bears or something we're going to see in the media. You know what I mean? Especially if you've got so many different private sectors doing different technology in your own localized space and dealing with locality, you might be feeling, something that's a technology that some institution is using that you don't know about, and that's true. And like, there was a guy that came forward named, in fact, in that second video, I put a couple of pictures on. David Lewis Anderson was his name. I heard him first in the 90s on Art Bell. And the stuff he was talking about was great time principles. He threw out certain names like Kurt Gödel or Stan Tipler, people that have advanced time science, okay? He kind of disappeared after that. And he was calling for transparency, big time. And when he disappeared, everybody, oh, he was a fake. He was a fake. And you couldn't really trace down the Anderson Institute that he described certain experiments they were doing. Sometimes don't kill the messenger for the information.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I've got a question about because the way that you termed it was free will zone. I've heard other people just say this universe is free will. Free will has been thrown out there, and it's another one of those words that I did not learn it on my own. I heard from other people and believed or not believed it. So what is this free will zone that you're talking about?
People aren't going to like it when I say this. To me,
and people don't like what I say half the time either, so it's okay, Barry. Go for it.
This is because it's a prison planet, and you get wiped clean, and you come here, and you still have this thing. Some souls here that are completely murderous, all right? And that shows here. I mean, outside of the few laws we have on this planet that don't fully work, you have a lot of beings that incarnate here that want to rape, kill, murder. I mean, they're thinking about that every day. When I got my degree in college, one of them is in psychology. I was absolutely appalled when I did this report over serial killers. And we've got from the state I'm from the city I'm from, we have one of the most notorious ones in the state, or in the country, which is a BTK. He caused quite the ruckus. Bind, torture, kill. It's a horrible deal. But I mean, nonetheless, when I started doing that, I started becoming just absolutely sickened to find out that serial killing is almost a disease that spreads. That's, what? So the amount of people that you come into contact with in your lifetime to think about murdering you, that's where you're at here? This is a prison planet. And the fact that in free will, outside of our laws, they can still murder you. Someone can try to murder you. When's the last time you went to an ATM at like 1 o'clock in the morning? Probably not in a long time.
In a long time.
I mean, yeah. People are
because I don't want to meet one of those people at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. So in that way, I say it's free will, because apparently here and not remember what you've done that, and even think more you're on some mission. You've been told that by somebody, you're on some mission. It's a school here. And let's bring something else up that I might tick some people off. All right, I'm just going to say this. Everyone I'm talking to now, you included, thinks our souls are immortal, right? We're immortal souls. You agree with that?
No, I don't. But I'll clarify that after you say that no, souls are not immortal.
Can you change that? Okay, in my experience, they are.
Oh,
Right?
really?
And the
Oh,
souls,
interesting.
yes, and I mean once as far as immersion, once created from source, all right. There's so
Maybe
much.
it's a vocabulary issue. I'm sorry, there's an echo now. What I'm calling a soul, or you're calling a soul, I might call a spirit.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
So, because what I'm talking about, the eternal part, is that what I call a spirit stick, because I can see the stuff inside of people. I can see these things. It's white, and I call it that broken off piece of God, if you want to call it that. It's consciousness. It's of God, if you will. It's the broken off piece of consciousness. And then outside of that, in order to have a human experience or a dog experience, you have a suit you put on of like a human encoding suit. So you've got the personality and the emotions and the codes that you need to, or all those, it's like, how do you instinctively know to do that? That's encoded into this soul. So like a dog has a different type of soul that's encoded differently to have a dog experience. Now this suit we have on can be destroyed in my experience. I've seen them destroyed. So does that match, maybe using different words, but match what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify.
You just described, we could call that the divine overself. A book like the Uranta book that I took some racial slurs for saying it's crap. People got really mad about that. I mean,
it was a little blurry. What's the title of the book? It was blurry.
Oh, the Uranta book. I did a video over that, and some people, racists, have said that there's no way that a melanin dominant individual like me could comprehend that book. Anyway, that's another story.
Well, I think block and delete is appropriate.
Some of this, it is what it is, though. You can't keep them all happy. Anyway, but what you kind of described as the divine overself, and it stays in perfection with source, with the creator, with God. No one likes that word anymore, God. It stays in perfection with that. And you described kind of what I've seen too. It's like almost like a spark. And then there's these layers that go around it. And people make all these different bodies, they say, but there are these layers of energy that protect it, that encode it. All right. And you're right, they can be just damaged. There are beings out there that will attack that and try to deborrow that energy field around you. And some of that is the death force itself. Remember, the death force, and you died like me. Don't you agree? A large part of maybe you agree, I don't know. For me, a large part of the death force wants our life memories, our soul life memories. And there's a type of unconsciousness that comes with that. You know what I mean? So that's why I see now why some of the ancients spent so much time doing the recapitulation of their life, pulling every piece of energy they left with others and reconstructing every life event they can remember energetically with creative visualization. And when the death force hits you, okay, it takes that recap and leaves your soul, the spark you're talking about, intact with your soul life memories. That gives you much more power to be able to go straight to source and other things. So that's kind of where I'm at with that, and that's what I experienced too. Because I could tell you that unconsciousness hit me when I died. I was out for a minute, and and then after that I couldn't distinguish how much was what I saw from what I was also my brain responding to external stimuli, people around me when I was unconscious. You know what I mean? So these are things that's just me though. I can only speak for myself because I'm convinced that 50 of us listening right now all were in one room and it got bombed or whatever, and we all perished at the same time. Each one of us is going to be in a different afterplace. We're not going to all be still there in another different dimension.
Oh, that makes complete sense. Yeah, that makes complete sense. So, and don't go into the light. Don't go into the light.
Oh,
So,
that takes us somewhere else. It's really cool that you mentioned that because I've been asked that too after that video I did over NDE, and that got pretty cool responses. I was nervous to do it, but I saw loved ones when I passed, and it comes down to who they were, or were they some type of deceivers. You have to use your inner judgment, your discernment. And I will say this: when I was in that realm, or when you get out of the body, the knowledge you get is much more, infinitely more than what you get here in this body. We really are seeing darkly. So in that way, it's much harder for beings to disguise themselves to you than it is right now when you can't see clearly. All right. So use your discernment, and that goes with you, and use that. Those felt like my loved ones, and one of them had just passed. We just buried him 3 days before I had. So I can say that, all right, that they felt like them. So know the difference between the light of the moon, that cold light, and the difference between the light of the sun. They're different. One's a warm, light-giving love, a different light.
Oh, absolutely. And that kind of goes to what people have been taught is you've got the sun and you've got the moon that reflects light. Well, if the moon reflected the light of the sun, it would not be cold. So the moon is self-illuminating, and it illuminates a cool light. So that's, here's another thing that we were taught. That was not correct. So, and you touched on that. So I want to say something because you did.
No, you're right on the money on that, and I had to deal with that for a long time. Is that when I was younger and I would read the first one I want to say was, oh gosh, I think it was Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, and Lord knows he does not call that now. He's called Osho now. But he was a totally different dude when I was a kid. But anyway, yeah. Osho the mystic. He used to be called Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, and he was a trip. He wrote some books that were giving out excellent secrets in Eastern knowledge, especially the pranayama kriya system. All right, but one of them is he started mentioning, and some of the other Swamis talked about. We went to the moon when we slept at night. We went back to the moon astrally, and also we incarnated through a thing they called like a soul catcher on the dark side of the moon. Another one, I did a video over the moon, and it got all these hits on it, man. But the things like Richard Hoagland saw that shard and things like that. They've got pictures of that. But anyway, that's the we incarnated through there. All right, now that to me comes somewhere with the scalar frequency why we can't remember things. We're coming through this system, and it gives us a type of electrical shock. That spark you mentioned, that column of light that is us, it's what we would also call prana or orgone. And if you look at even our science right now, pure life energy, pure source energy, a big portion of it is that. But that has a somewhat antagonistic relationship with electricity. So if you shock the soul with a bunch of electricity, it can do some damage. So if we come through a field of electricity, pow, and then you put on a little hypnotic suggestion to us, oh, you don't remember shit, you don't remember anything, you just got a big mission there, so go on back. So then you come back here devoid of soul life memories. And then we've got scenario 2. Those of us that are immortal souls, but maybe the more experienced ones, however that works in terms of consciousness, we know the beginning and ending of every quantum possibility. So that means there's no game we don't know the end of. We've done everything, we've been everything in existence. Therefore, that means we have the ultimate challenge and a nemesis of boredom, spiritual boredom. Okay, so what's left? We can trick ourselves with spiritual amnesia so we can rediscover everything again. Mm-hmm. And is that where some of us are at here? Food for thought already. Don't throw stones at me. I'm just throwing it out there.
Someone goes, Barry said shit. That's so cute.
Oh, yes, God. I got a mouth like a sailor.
He only said it one time.
I try not to let that come through. You know what I mean? I don't want to lower the vibration of anybody by sounding like a sailor.
Oh my gosh. We were talking about, when you were talking about the souls and all that earlier, this reminded me of something that I was working with a client the other day, and this happened. I see some strange things that I don't quite have all the answers. I have some of the answers, but I don't have all of them. And I saw this, and maybe you could tell me what in the world it was. I'm whenever I go out into the spirit world or whatever you want to call it, I'm not good with names. I'm not good with names here in 3D. I'm not good with names out there as well.
Me either. Uh-oh, you froze up. You froze up. I don't know if anyone can hear me, but she's right. I mean, a lot of them don't even use names. I had a big problem with that at first, not getting the right names. May have lost you.
There's some more editing for Kelly. So I got my internet back up now.
Myself.
It's an internet thing. Well, when it goes down, nobody can hear you. So we're going to edit all this out. So anyway, I was working with a client, and when I was working with her, immediately she said, I'm a walk-in. And it was like, oh, because I knew something was different about her the day before. I was looking at the schedule and going, something's different about this one when I do my session. So when we got there, she immediately said, I'm a walk-in, which, I'm not into vocabulary, so I don't know exactly what that meant. But what I saw was her, because she said, I don't know who I am, because there was more than one thing inside of her doing its thing. So I saw something very different. When I usually see someone's consciousness, I'm like, okay, when you go inside your mind and you're thinking about things and you're looking over here and you've got some form of awareness from a certain point, that is you, where you have that spirit stick, or some form of that spirit stick is where their awareness is coming from. But this one was different. So I don't understand what was going on. It's almost like the awareness was back here, almost even outside of the body, or not connected to a spirit stick. So I'm confused right off the bat, because I don't know what's going on. I usually see it from the spirit stick, or it might look different in another being, but it's still a type of a spirit stick. So that was kind of the first clue. Then I saw another one. It was like a soul, and it was small, it was golden, and it was oval, but a little more pointed on the tips, but it was oval. And then you've got, it looked like a female type gold being in the center of it. So I saw this, and then I also saw this other soul around it. And I know I'm like really bad at drawing, so this is not exactly what it looks like, but very similar to this in the shape. I saw a soul that was manufactured. I've never seen that before. And yes, all souls are manufactured from some type of factory somewhere, but it's like a matrix factory, that does this stuff. So I was asking like, who did this? Who are you? And I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, but they said they're Lyrians, or Lyrians. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. So I was like, well, that's interesting, because she was like, where did I come from? What's going on? So I said, okay, I'll take a look. So I took a look, and I saw there was this type of weapon I've never seen before. I did not recognize it. And there was this thing, I couldn't tell if it was a ship or a planet. It was almost like it was both a planet and a ship. I just got that feeling from it. It looked more like a ship than a planet, obviously, but I just got that planet feeling. And it had, well, here I've drawn it. I know this is terrible, but it was shaped like this, and then it had, where I've got those long stick looking things, it was just random, industrial type stuff poking out everywhere at uneven lengths around it. Then I saw this huge black explosion. I've never seen a black explosion before. I've only seen like white or yellow or red or something bright light in it. It was like almost like the opposite of light type of explosion. So it exploded. It blew up this planet ship thing, and when it blew it up, I saw these red. They were very bright in red, and I saw them go in every direction, like an explosion does. It goes in every direction. And when I saw that, I'm like, what is that? And when it whizzed past me, that's when I realized what it was. It's the spirit. In my vocabulary, the spirit is that thing that lives forever and ever. And then it was like the souls were all destroyed. Now, these that got scattered, they weren't like people on the ship, you know, and then their souls were gone and all that. It was almost like it was a collective of all of them together. Somehow they had combined their consciousnesses or souls or whatever. They'd combined them all together, and that's what broke apart. So what I saw was this spirit type stick involved with this soul and this artificially produced soul. And then I had almost like a download of information that showed that they were able to retrieve the memories, if you want to call it that, of their way of life, their personality, their emotions, and you know, and all of those things, and then reconstruct it. And then there was some sort of connection with humans. And your hands are on your face, Barry. What's going on? What did I see?
Man, you know, I don't want to use
stressed out.
Try not to use the S word or the F word, really, to be honest with you. You know, it's interesting because people don't really want to talk about this. You know, it's interesting. First of all, let's look at the context of everything you saw and the context in which it was presented to you. This was presented to you from a walk-in.
Okay.
Which is so right now, you know, so many people right now claim to either be walk-ins or open their bodies and abilities for channeling these beings and allow themselves to be walk-ins. You know what a walk-in is now? Or you?
Well, I thought I knew what a walk-in was, but now that I've seen the energy and see how everything is put in there, I don't understand anymore. I thought I had an idea of what a walk-in was till I looked at that, and it doesn't look like what I thought it would.
What you're talking about, the other contrast into it. All right. Ooh, it's a trip because the whole time you're showing that, I'm getting blasted over here to the point of where I almost can't even relay the information. Okay.
First of all, take your time, just one little thing at a time.
Yeah, well, the context as a walk-in. Okay, first of all, I've met a walk-in when I was much younger. A friend of mine who went by the name of Timar. She's deceased now. But at first, to be honest with you, I was just finishing my psychology degree, and when she was older, but when she's talking to you, she would suddenly kind of go something like this, and then start talking like a little girl. So for me, just getting psychology, I was like kind of correlating that to Sally Fields as Sybil in PD.
But multiple personalities?
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking until I went back to this room that she had during this UFO conference that was actually discrediting Billy Meyer in the end. But anyway, go back to this room, and she's got all these dozens and dozens of illustrations of different beings, some interdimensional, some star beings, some just light beings. And it was incredible. And then the walk-in, the little girl, started saying things about my personal contact experiences that no one could have known.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, she knew a lot. I mean, the point of where it was a trip. And a couple of these beings on her wall, I resonated with one or two of them. Some of them were ethnic, melanin dominant like myself, physical. Some of them looked like Gumby. Purple Gumbies. Yeah. I mean, it's just, yeah. So, I mean, in that way, but she was a walk-in, and she was definitely of the love frequency, light frequency, all right? I can't tell you where the walk-in was from. It said it was a light being. But what you just described, let's take that to the other part of this. And not many people are talking about it, but a few. It's a thing that's being called embedded beings right now. And in reality, what we need to get out of this sleep that we're in and start realizing, if we have, whether they're negatives or not, we have a type 2 or type 3 civilizations interacting with us. What would a bio-android, a cyborg from a civilization like that actually be like? Okay, they might be in a container, something that looks like a gray, that is able to project their consciousness into containers like ourselves for the human experience. And in that way, I advise people to start checking out Linda Moulton Howe, what she says about embedded beings. And the first time I heard her mention this was in the early about masseuses that had people on their table that had like a cell phone turned off, and they're working on the occipital, I think it is back here, and they see like a static and then a holographic gray alien rise out of this person, and they can see it. And they say when the client comes in, they start thinking about gray aliens, gray extraterrestrials, when they're not into that. For some reason, this person brings this in and they see that. And one lady said that there was a cell phone that went off that was already shut off, as all clients, and this gray image kind of retracted back into this woman who's unaware of it. And then after that, Linda Moulton Howe started getting so many masseuses and physical therapists contacting her saying they've had something similar. And this individual said it seemed like the phone made this individual, this thing go back into this woman, okay? It's one thing when you've got all these people saying that. I myself know a physical therapist who's come to me in the last 2 weeks and told me something happened to her. And she's not into this stuff at all. She's saying this woman came in, or this client, and I started having nightmares about gray aliens. Now look, if we're looking at beings, robots, bioandroids that can, as many experiencers have said, contactees, they said that they say that they've actually had sorry, there's a phone going off there. Actually, that these yeah, it kind of threw me off track too there also. That some of these beings, all right, that when they do this, they can actually project the consciousness into us, all right. And several abductees, more abductees that have had negative experiences, have recalled being on beds and having something like a being come out that they've had a physical relationship with, like normally a blonde Nordic or something, and it will turn into a ball of light and enter their chest. And there'll be another being there, like a praying mantis, that will say, this being, you're comfortable with that form, but this being is going to inhabit your consciousness with you to get the human experience. You know, and if you look at all the people walking around holding their phones constantly, if you think about what really Morgellons disease is, if you're familiar with that, you know, Morgellons makes these carbon nanotubes, lesions in people.
Is this where it almost looked like worms were coming, or fibers were coming out of their skin?
Exactly. When those were analyzed under electron microscope, all right, they were found to have so many carbon nanotubes that, you know, it's unreal. And also, check it out, they do something what's called, they have a nano array on them, which is these little, right, which are used for different frequencies. At the same time, they do something that is, they multiply. They create what's called a nanospread. And dig this, Kelly. The nanospreads do more in alkalized blood, all right? You know how much they want everybody to be alkalized right now. Alkalized bloods. They spread more than that. And dig this. Under blue light. We've all heard about blue face, but under blue light, they go crazy. These spreads of nanocarbon. That's nanotechnology. Right there that they first are dismissing as, oh, it's a psychological deal, until they start looking at those lesions under microscopes, electron microscopes.
How is it psychological? It's coming out of their skin.
Yes, but think about it. It ties into the real implants, like the physical ones, like Dr. Lear was pulling from people before he died and doing all those experiments on. They're composed of nanocarbon tubes, more advanced than stuff that we have right now by far. So we're talking about an invasion. With the amount of people carrying around these phones, you want to talk about, you know, we're talking about Morgellons possibly deal, how alkalized blood is being forced upon us in a way that's kind of unnatural. I'm just throwing this out there. You know, people need to really be aware of this and the fact that we're looking through a glass darkly, for real. And if we want to talk about an invasion, that's the way what's happening right now. A real terraforming project. How is that really done? With cows like us, animals like us, sentient animals, ones that are about to become a threat because of too much awareness going around. There's a reason why people like us are being shut up or being coerced. Like you've been, I've been, so many other people, you know, it gets ridiculous and it makes people shut up. It makes you not even want to go through this crap, and it can ruin your career too, so just shut your mouth and and you know, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not going to die again and do that anymore. I'm not coming back here again for any of this. So that's anyway. Sorry. Enough of that. I'm going on some weird tangent. I'm doing that.
Yeah, I'm not going back either. I'm done. I think I woke up to the point where it's like I don't know if it's this fun anymore, because I had lots of fun Earth experiences when you don't know what it is. But I think once you wake up, you're like, oh, I see it for what it is. You know, I think I'm done. I want new adventures now. And maybe you and I, Barry, are kind of like, we've played the video game and we're at level 100, which is the last level. And we played all of the levels and we don't want to play this game anymore. We want to go get another video game and go play that.
I'll tell you this, Kelly. I'm no guru. I've been here before several times. I was born aware, very aware, but I'm no guru, all right? And I think that the food here and the sex here is great.
Amen. That's why God invented California. Woo!
That's what makes this place so appealing. You can get in here and get you a body, and you can have sensations that we don't have the same way on the other side. It's a different bliss over there without bodies. This stuff is great, man. I mean, still to this day, I get yourself some great food, have a great date, have some great sex, and that's fantastic until you get too old to enjoy it. Your body does anyway.
Oh, I'm going to live to be 700, so I'm not too old yet. I'm not even at middle age. I just turned 47 on Saturday. Woo! 47. Holy crap. That's a wonderful lucky number. 47. And it's not just the 47. Go look that one up. But 4 plus 7 is 11. We got another number. Then 1 plus 1 is 2. We got a lot going on. This is going to be my year.
Hey, check this out. There are 4 people that must be in the chat room that are very telepathically strong. Are they asking a question or something? Is something coming through? I've had a few of them I've detected telepathically.
Are you watching them or are you just feeling the questions?
I'm feeling them. I can't see anything.
Okay, because I mean there were a question that was just over and over and over again. I don't know if it was the same person, it was going by so fast, or if it was multiple people, but they want to know about do these ships use anything from 3D, like crystals or anything like that? Do they use them in their ships?
Yes, please also check out my channel, please. And look up the UFO propulsions. I actually got the playlist on there, UFO technologies, and I'll show a picture of that, all right? Since they're asking that. Okay, here we go. This is going to be dangerous, Kelly. We're going to do it.
Well, let's just do it. Yeah, hey.
When I'm going to show the first picture is this engine when it's deactivated, all right? And because this kind of very much goes from what they're asking, towards it anyway. And this is one engine I saw, and some people have commented, hey, that kind of looks similar to one of Keisha's devices. I saw this when I was, about 12, just before my experience had stopped for a few years. I've seen this, all right?
Now, is this a type of drawing or something that someone's done on Photoshop to illustrate?
Christine Dennett does all my artwork. She's done about 30 sketches for me. This is one that as a kid, I tried to sketch. I'm no artist, but I tried to sketch it and send it to her, and she rendered it fairly well. Something I want to say about this, all right, that's a little different concerning the crystal technology. Right now, our science is coming into what's called quasi-crystals, all right? These things was big. This unit was huge. These crystals were about 9 feet tall, maybe 10 feet tall, and about 3 feet wide. And they had, they were self-illuminating. They had a bioluminescence or chemical luminescence. They were glowing from the inside. That there she doesn't have represented here. And it seemed like they were wrapped with something similar to copper, all right? That's when it was deactivated. Now I'll show when it was activated. I'll attempt to here if I don't mess this up, which I could do. Very delicate work here, but it's very delicate.
So that's basically before you turn it on, what it looks like.
Yeah, and when it was turned on, it looked like this. The energy coming off.
Oh my gosh, I've seen that. I've seen the energy pattern.
Yeah, and you know, and the when it's turned on, those crystals start spinning in a rotation so fast you almost can't see them anymore. And with that comes this very deep bass hum, a very deep hum. And my friend Xandar, and that's who's on this ship. And heck, why not? I might as well just go on with this. All right. I did a video over Xandar recently too.
Yeah, I saw that one. That was awesome.
Oh, hey, thank you.
I love your videos.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. So many people were behind me to do those. It's really a miracle. I was so
You know, and I'm just so proud of you. They're becoming very popular, and you're getting the information out there, and that's the point, is to get that information out there.
It's a forgiving audience is what it is. This is Xandar, right? Now, Xandar was actually on that ship that I just showed you, that engine. And he's right near it, and he's telling me that that bass hum that I'm feeling, he says not just can that engine power Legion ships, which I know are huge, he said it can power small planetoids, and that the sound I was hearing from those engines could heal human flesh, which was beyond just healing, just the astral form. I've seen people on these ships that are in astral form. I can almost see through them. I know why now. They're not fools like me trying to be there physically, getting sick, about to pass out. That's what that is. Anyway, concerning the crystal technology, yes, I've seen that. I've also seen some devices. I'll show that real quick too. This is an Andromedan council member, right? And most of the time, like you, I don't get names. They don't give me names. Getting names, and I didn't get them. But these are some beings that did identify themselves. Has that come up yet? That's an Andromeda council member. She did them pretty good, except for they didn't look quite so kitty. They looked.
Oh, Barry, I'm really sorry. Hey, Barry, sorry about that. The internet went down again right before you started showing the picture. I'm sorry about that. Can you like just like show the picture and start talking again, and I'll edit this part out. I apologize, everybody who's watching right now. We got to work with what you got, right, Barry?
No, the fact it's gone this good is this smooth is good. Believe me. Let me pull it back up here. Don't worry about that. You're hanging out with the cat that's usually riddled with technical difficulty. Here we go. You still there?
Okay.
You see it now?
Okay, I see it. I'm sorry, I'm having technical problems on my end. My family came home and they're dropping their keys and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, okay.
The things that were different about this being was that the suit actually had these white stripes going down the legs and the arms, like racing stripes almost. And the being itself looked a little bit more serious than that. The eyes were a little more arched, and they didn't quite look so pleasant. I mean, they looked bad. They just didn't look like that quite. But most importantly, what she got very correct is the device in its hand. They had these symbols on them, these wands with like these odd-shaped crystals on the end of them, with these things that look like fiber optics coming out of them. All right.
Wow, interesting.
You were actually moving. Okay. And they were actually using it to light up certain DNA with me. They said I didn't believe in myself. It was a very unique experience. Now, mind you, these guys, Kelly, to say they were 2.5, 3 feet tall is pushing it.
Really? Wow.
They were little. Yes. Yeah.
It reminds me of the grays, only it looks blue. And some of the grays actually do look like a powdery blue when I see them. Yeah. Not like blue like that, just like a powdery blue.
Yeah. Well, there's certain, for these people that want to know that, look a lot into quasi-crystals, quasi-crystal science right now, and what they're doing with that. That's being used for nanomaterials, invisibility, all sorts of things. I've seen certain ships that are constructed of some type of this nanocrystal with some type of, as they explained it to me, metals that are mined from planets that are devoid of Van Allen belts. So they're just getting atmosphere, so they're getting just bombarded by solar radiation. I'm sorry, yeah, solar radiation, cosmic radiation. And it makes the metal a durability that we don't even know here on Earth. And then they're constructed in dark space, grown in dark space on top of that. And combined, all these materials are combined in some type of composite. And that makes the ship alive, especially when you have some of these beings putting some of their own DNA with that compound. So that's why they're symbiotically connected with the ship. They don't have to touch it a lot of times, do things like that. See, that's just what I've seen anyway and experienced.
That is really interesting because you had talked about crafts before, and this is one of the questions I was gonna ask. In your opinion, as far as percentages go, and we know this is just a guess, but what percentage of ships up there are XYZ and 1, 2, 3? What percentage do you think are these thought forms that come here, create these weird shapes and do all of that? And then you've got crafts, basically, that have crystals that are the craft themselves is, I know I'm saying this poorly, but living, or you know, you can talk to the ship basically and not have to move levers and buttons. What percentage are crafts from those that already live on this planet that are of a different race? When I say race, I'm not talking human race, of another type of race that are far more advanced and have technology. And what percentage are our own government that has back engineered this technology? Because the Nazis, was it in the 40s? I know I've lost track. You probably know this, and I don't. It was in the 40s or something like that, that the Nazis already had a flying machine. Basically, they couldn't, from what I heard, they couldn't drop bombs from it because of the field created around it. They weren't able to just drop bombs from it. And this was, I think, in the 40s, or I don't know if it might have been the 30s or so, but it's been a very long time. Anyway, so what is filling our skies when people go, aliens are real, I saw a UFO?
Yeah, oh boy, this is a tough one. I'll tell you why, because I can say this and try to go 50-50, okay? And I say this because how far along in our history of humanity we've been having contact and seeing things in the sky. But then we've got another fact, another deal that kicks into this, all right? When it comes to us and who's from here, all right? Since you and I had our last interview, I think, you know, I had to come to terms with something, all right? And this is, you know, I say honestly that I've always had a problem being a melanin dominant, a black experiencer. I've always had problems seeing when the Pleiadians are always, and most of the beings we see in the media look like Fabio and Christy Brinkley. I've said that a lot. And, you know, it's very discouraging for anyone that looks as myself saying, well, where are the other beings that have to look like me? How come no one's interacting with them? So I spoke against all these beings, the Fabio beings is what I called them. Not against them, but I spoke against the caricature. Does that make sense? And it was somewhat easy.
Barry, I'm so sorry to do this, but you were talking about it's so difficult for me being melanin dominant, and then the internet went down. So could you just repeat that again? I'm so sorry.
It seemed like I was going on. There was no. Sometimes it looks like you get beamed on and beamed out. Like it looks like you're literally like being transported. That's when I know something goes wrong. Anyway, like Scotty's Enterprise. That was a joke, but it does look like that. Anyway, being a melanin dominant experiencer, I had a problem with all of the beings that are represented in the media looking like Fabio, Michael Bolton, Christy Brinkley. It's not very encouraging when someone like me is looking to see, well, where are the black people at? Where are the ethnic people that are in space? Like no one's talking about that. You know what I mean? So I spoke against the Nordics a little bit, just in terms of caricature for media reasons, you know, and it was easy because I had not experienced them. Okay, I experienced a bunch of other beings, but not them. Well, guess what? I found that wasn't true since we talked last time. So Mr. Barry here had to eat a lot of crow. Okay, I'll do that. I'll eat some crow, man. All right, I did that. But I'll show a picture, right, and how this comes up, and this ties into what you're saying in a weird way, all right? First of all, I've talked about these charters for a long time. These beings that come around every 7 years. I've met several of them now. If you're aware enough and you're tuned in, you realize these are people that aren't normal, okay? They appear to be, but their energy's different. It pushes you a little bit. It's very advanced, and they're highly telepathic in a way that you almost can't shut them out, that most people can't do that. So anyway, that's the charters. They come around every 7 years. Well, you know, it turns out that the first ship that I saw, I was with my mom, okay, and I was 7 years old. And it's so odd because I couldn't remember actually seeing the ship itself, okay? And I'm gonna try to show this ship itself. I've done a couple of videos over this. all right, and over this ship itself, if I can find it. Here it is. Can you see it yet?
Oh, not yet. Let's see.
Oh, I think I messed up. Hold on. There. How about now?
Ah, perfect. Excellent.
Okay. That is the first ship I had saw consciously, and it was with my mother. She was taking me to get another, near my birthday actually, another Stretch Armstrong. That dude he used to pull when I was a kid. You're close to my age. You remember Stretch Armstrong? Anyway,
yes, I do.
Yeah.
I have some stories about Stretch Armstrong that we'll save for private.
The first time you stretched him, he would leak that goo.
I know, right?
Yeah, my mom said it looked like nuclear goo, so we had to go get another one. Anyway, she knows it's toxic. Anyway, this ship here, okay, was the ship that I saw with her when we're walking from one store to another. And it's pretty large, but I couldn't remember it, okay? Only vaguely, until she had mentioned it to me when I'm like in my 30s, all right? Now, what's odd about this ship, when she got done helping me to illustrate it, Christine did this for me also, but what's different about this ship, Kelly, is it has windows on it. The ships that I've been in don't have windows. They're organic, okay?
I see.
So that threw me up. And number two, my mom says this. She says, I've asked her so many questions. She said, you remember that as much as you were talking about it? I said, I don't. She said, you can remember Stretch Armstrong, but Mr. Star Trek guy can't remember seeing a UFO. And that was odd. And that immediately triggered something in meaning that only when dealing with the higher beings or them do I miss time. Okay, and I, that was odd. So I want to find out why. Did you freeze up?
I'm back.
Okay.
From outer space. Okay, I can't sing that because I'll get copyrighted. Sorry, it went down again.
When did you lose me there?
Your mom was saying something like, you can remember Stretch Armstrong, but
okay,
that's when it cut off.
Thank God. Okay, that's pretty close. That was almost done. Yeah, she said that you can remember Stretch Armstrong, but you can't remember seeing a UFO, Mr. Star Trek guy. And I just sat there. I said, man, I couldn't fully remember. That only happens when dealing with them during experience. And I want to know why, all right? So this time, I went for a regression for it. I wanted to know why I couldn't remember seeing that ship when I could remember everything else. I can only see like flashes of it, and my mother had to tell me some of the things to trigger it. You know what I mean? So during my regression, this comes out, and I put this on my YouTube channel under bilocation, all right? And the bilocation that happens to people being in two places at once during an experience, all right? Here. Tell me if you can see this one. Can you see it?
There we go.
Okay. That's what I saw, all right? And being bilocated, I was on board this craft, all right, in what we would call the dream body, the astral body. And you see, looking down there is my mother and I. So I could see myself from this, and at first this window here was like a silver wall until the gentleman standing up kind of waved his hand and it turned into like, it looked like I could fall through the floor even. It was holographic. So that tells me those windows are holographic projectors. They're recorders. Okay? Now what's interesting about these guys, first of all, I had to deal with, they were the Nordic types. They had on these suits that were so tight that they looked like Christopher Reeve from Superman. And to be quite honest with you, a lot of people laugh at this, but I mean, they had these mullets, okay? And she got the one standing up quite right. He had a mullet like that looked a lot like David Hasselhoff on Knight Rider, like the first two seasons. He had a mullet like that. And that was about that era. So I'm saying, they could walk around on the street, they fit right in. Take the silly suits off with the metal things on them. But most interesting, Kelly, they looked a lot like clones.
Oh,
The
okay.
gentleman standing up said his name is Alex, telepathically, capital A-L with apostrophe L-E-X. Okay, sometimes the names, I don't know, that's what he said. And he's the only one that communicated with me when these other guys did not. Okay, and he also is the charter that gave me a rock later, a year later after this, but I couldn't remember it because he looked different when he approached me out of the ship. He had a goatee, but he looked quite the same otherwise. See what I mean? Anyway, that's so that okay. I'll try to tie this in. All right,
Mm-hmm.
these charters, that ship, and those individuals, I believe, were historians. And in that way, we don't know really who we are consciously, okay, how important we are right now at this time. And a lot of the ships we're seeing that aren't interacting anything, they're not breaking the prime directive. What better way to record history than doing that holographically like that? Okay, number two, a lot of us need to be aware consciously and as immortal souls to whatever degree we've had many containers throughout creation for our consciousness. And sometimes some of these ships we're seeing, knowing that our dream body can take on a ship, look like one to transport other beings, or become one when it comes into our atmosphere, some of these times we may be looking at ourselves. We might be recording ourselves. This is getting that intrinsic now. Am I going too far out? Does that sound just crazy?
Oh, no. On my show? No, we can't go too far out.
Because I'm telling you, there's a definite reality there. And like I said, I had to first get over the fact that I had spoken against the Nordic guys. I hadn't seen them. Then I had to get used to the House of Hoff mullet and deal with that. And I had encountered them. But yet these guys did not tell me they were from the Venus or anything. I kept mentioning during the regression the George Edminsky contact. You know who that is? When I was
No.
before us, actually, he claimed he was in contact with cats from Venus, from people from Venus. And when I looked his information up after this regression, because I kept saying during the regression, Edminsky was wrong. They weren't from Venus; they were from the future. So when I look up George Edminsky, there are these blonde Nordics that have these blue suits on, with ships that are similar to one type I've seen. But dig this, these guys had gray hair, kind of like gray pepper hair. But I mean, I don't know everything about genetics, Caucasian genetics. But listen, if they were maybe, they look like they were maybe in their 60s. If they were like you knocked 20 years off of them, would they have been blonde? I mean, I don't know. Just food for thought.
Interesting. That's very interesting. I've got I don't know if this is really a question, but I've had a lot of people from years ago that were like, Kelly, I remember you. I was on the ship with you, and I had on this white jumpsuit, you know, like a skin type like jumpsuit, and I wore a ponytail. So I don't wear very many ponytails. In this lifetime, I have not worn a lot of ponytails at all. so this is just completely against what I would have done in this reality. So, but there have been several people that have said, Kelly, I remember you on a ship and you had a ponytail.
You know, that reminds me of my friend Susan Manwich. I don't know if you know her, but Susan Connect Me. But she when I first saw her, she did a video called E.T. Evolved. When I saw her, there's been 3 people in my life that have come forward that I've seen in real life or seen on the ship. I mean, physically. Mm-hmm. And when I would say I was there physically, but they were kind of there in this dream body. They were kind of phased out, and I could see them touching one of these engines, the light from one of these engines. All right. And when I actually saw Susan's video, I contacted her. I said, I've seen you before. I've seen you on one of these ships. But you know what? She can't remember it. And she said, I've had several people tell me that they've seen me on ships. Mm-hmm. Now that I've come forward and started talking, I've had a few people tell me that. Mm-hmm. But I've got a doppelganger that walks around on there. That's a different phenomenon. But anyway, that way you described a suit that I've seen before. I've seen white suits similar to that.
Now, I don't feel like I was abducted or anything like that. I feel like this is a ship that I'm working on, that I have a position I don't know if it's paid because I don't know how things work there.
Not enough.
Yeah, but that's how I felt. I had on an official jumpsuit, not like, oh, here we abducted you and you have no clothes. Put this on. It's just
So
this is my work suit.
Here's the question: this person said you look like you look now in this body now.
No. And when I go back and look, my hair's a different color. It's got a ponytail. It's blonde. I have naturally blonde hair, and it's in a ponytail, and I'm wearing a white jumpsuit.
I would look at what we just talked about. It can't be a coincidence. We just brought that up. I would look at your past containers, your past lives. That's probably who you used to be on one of those ships, working, doing something. This person is recognizing you from a soul group, part of your soul group. The soul can't hide. And those of us that can see, we recognize each other to a certain degree. That's what you're talking about. That person's seen a former you. And the uniform that you just described is actually quite similar to one of the uniforms that Xandar was wearing. That wasn't a robe like what she made. It was more like a uniform with a gold sash that came down. I've seen uniforms quite similar to that. They're called dress forms on like Star Trek Next Generation. They dress uniforms on a sash like that. Yeah, so yeah, that's I look at that. Once again, now if you've seen a UFO, is that your past you, your future you, and is that you on that ship keeping records on your own self, contacting your own self, implementing ideas in your own consciousness that will manifest at a later time? It has to be done when we're this isolated from the divine circuits. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
In the divine field. Let me rephrase that. From the divine field.
Someone's talking about the doppelganger clone thing. What's that all about? I'm quoting them exactly.
I don't know if they mean mine. What happened to me when I was 7, I was walking home and I see this brother standing on a bridge and he looks like one of my brothers, kind of. Okay, but my brothers are much older than me. I mean much, like 20 years older than me. All right. So it wasn't them, but he looked like family. I tried to approach him, he threw his arms up and stepped back, and it scared me and it just took me out. But when I became about 22, 23, I was at the University of Kansas visiting some friends up there. I was about to go, we got to go out and kick it, and I had gotten a new outfit. And I wore it for the first time. I put it on this mirror, and I'll be damned if it wasn't the same outfit that this dude was wearing on this bridge. And I had just cut my hair off to where it is now. And I was like, that guy looked like me. So it caused this whole doppelganger type of thing. See, there's the things where he wasn't one of my brothers. It wasn't them, but he looked like me. Why didn't let me approach him? Oh. And I wound up getting a hold to one of those HDR units and having a small debate with a gentleman named Stephen Gibbs. He created a device called the HDR unit, hyperdimensional resonator, and he claimed it was a time machine. You ever seen it?
I think I saw a show on that, and just a regular journalist was going to debunk it or something. So it sounded like it did or didn't work. I can't remember what was going on with it. I didn't really understand it.
On my channel, I've got 2 videos on there. The HDR unit part 1, part 2, Doppelganger also. That unit doesn't work for time travel, but it is kind of telepathically active. But anyway, I call this guy and I want to get one of these machines. So I'm talking to him and I figured he's a total quack, which there's some issues there. But the second thing he asked me is like, I wondered when I was going to hear from you again. I said, man, I've never talked to you before, He said, 2 years ago, you got one of my machines. I said, no, I've not. And he says, have you seen your doppelganger yet? That's the third thing that dude said to me.
Really?
And there's no way he could have known that. Okay? And he told me he sold me this machine 2 years earlier. And I told him, I said, it wasn't me. At that time, I said, sir, 2 years ago, I was suffering brain injuries. I was in no tradition to buy a unit from you or anyone. And that's when he started asking me about the doppelganger. What did he do when I approached it? It's just so odd, okay? But the machine itself doesn't work. And I say that in the machine, in the video, but I could fix it to where it might interact with the time field. Mm-hmm. And I told him that, and he got really mad at me. And he told me, he said, the only reason why my device wouldn't work on you is because you must be one of those soulless alien hybrids. If you're a soulless alien hybrid, my technology won't work on you. Not that it's BS. You know, it wouldn't be that.
Oh no, oh no.
But nonetheless, the deal, and after working with this thing, you put an electromagnetic thing over your chakra, it can almost be dangerous. I had an engineer friend to take it apart to make sure it wouldn't fry my testicles when I put the headband on, you know. Anyway, trying to save the words here. But anyway, it did create something weird happen, like I was missing my sushi and like maybe a little time skip. But we could do that ourselves. So
oh, absolutely. I'm like, I time travel all the time, but I don't need a device.
Yeah, no. But I mean, in that way, I did that about the doppelganger because I realized something, that if I could change the technology, if there was an alternate me in a parallel reality, he could do the same or more so. But I wound up, it turned into the resurrection technology more than that, and my contacts more.
Oh, interesting.
Does that answer that question? Or did I just go on another left?
Oh, no, you did good. You did good. So, or you did well, if we want to use good grammar today. So, well, anything else you want to talk about before we go? It has been such a pleasure for you to be on here. I've learned so much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me back. And like I said, you have a very patient audience, and you're very kind to me, so I appreciate that. People on your website and all that, so I appreciate everybody. I would just say to everybody, just stay awake. Do your own research. I mean, don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody. Do your own research. You're having your own experiences. Don't be scared to maybe go get a hypnotic regression if you can't remember. Even if you just observed a ship for a couple minutes and it was just odd. Go see, what did you see in your subconsciousness? Your subconsciousness records everything. Your superconsciousness. We're dealing with some beings that may be you that are on that frequency that we need to attain. So if you need help, like I did, I had to finally sit down and get regressed by a professional. Get a good one. Somebody that you can actually validate their credentials. You know what I mean? Anyway, my express is just humanity's in trouble. This planet's in trouble. Look at this election, all that went down, the stress everybody's under. People are snapping on each other, attacking people. This is a serious time. And we have to try to help this awakening, this little shift that's going on. That's my great Captain Kirk speech. There it is.
Excellent, excellent. Oh my gosh, Barry, thank you for being on my show. Every time you come on, I learn something new and exciting. And okay, guys, if you want Barry on again, please let me know in the comments, not in the chat, in the comments that stay on the video. Let me know if you've got any other questions for Barry. Please put those on there as well. And we'll see if he might agree to come on here again and answer some more of your questions. Oh. So anyway, guys, do you have something else to say?
No, I just said, sure, I'd love to. I mean, I appreciate you having me on here, and everybody that hopefully I don't get booed out of that comment section there. They'll be like, that guy sucks.
No, Barry doesn't suck. Barry's freaking awesome. You're like one of the leading people in this industry. So you know, much respect to the Barry. He knows what he's talking about. So he's very modest. I like that as well. So I love you guys so much. Thank you for joining us. And I guess we'll see you on the next video. Bye.